I have finished my intervention on behalf of the European Parliament at this important meeting of the EU heads of state or government. As I said in my entrance remarks, this European Council must take decisions. There is no choice. People are worried. They are worried about how they are going to make their ends meet, how they will pay their mortgages, if they will have jobs to go to, and ultimately they will be worried about housing. We are experiencing double-digit inflation rates and rapidly rising interest rates that are creating, as I called it, a true tsunami, wiping the value off people's houses, salaries and national budgets. The time for small steps is over. What we need now is giant leaps in order to replace those small steps. We can get our bills under control. We can cushion the social and economic impact of the crisis. We can bring down sky-high energy prices, but we can only manage it if we do it together. We need to take lessons from the COVID pandemic because we did precisely that. And we are doing it now in response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So with the same determination, the same sense of solidarity, coordination, we can do it again in the context of the energy challenges that we face and the spillover effects of those challenges. My main message, therefore, was this is not the time to wait. This is the time for action. Two issues I also highlighted. We need to talk about the EU budget. Things that we agreed only last year already look like they come from another world. The EU's 7-year budget is already overtaken by events, and it is simply out of date. It lacks the flexibility that we need to have to respond to crisis. Now, this is not about more transfers from member states. It's not even about more money. It is about our ability to reflect emerging needs and new priorities. There is a difference between a revision and a review, and we need the former rather sooner than later. This is the position of the European Parliament. We also need to make quick progress on getting the Union its own resources or income. This was our plan, to be able to repay our next generation EU debt. And with raising interest rates, the repayments are already substantially eating into the EU budget, money that should instead be spent on our priorities. This is something we cannot explain today to our citizens, and it is crucial to maintain the Union's credibility on the capital markets. I said at this point that the European Parliament is a partner. It is an ally of the European Council, full understanding for the emergency and the urgency we are living in. However, the Parliament is also co-legislator, which means that beyond the emergency, medium and longer-term measures need to be undertaken together with the European Parliament, which has proven time and time again of being a solid, effective and efficient partner, as we have been not only since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the adoption of numerous macro-financial assistance packages, decisions on gas storage, decisions on Repower EU, which we will be able to table in the next mini-plenary in November, decisions on the accession of Croatia to the Schengen area, strong resolutions on accession of Romania and Bulgaria to the Schengen area. This was a point that I made with a strong mandate of the European Parliament that was given to me yesterday. Also, in preparation to ongoing discussions with President Zelensky, I welcome the fact that in an unprecedented manner, the European Parliament agreed by consensus yesterday to award the Sakharov Prize to the people of Ukraine, the brave people of Ukraine, as represented by their President. Which brings me to my penultimate point, that none of all we are doing can be done without considering Ukraine at full centre of everything we do. All issues are interconnected. There are different sides to the same challenges. If we want to safeguard Europe's future, we need to act with speed, we need to act with fortitude, and we need to act with unity. Because here we have to recognise that any sign of disunity will be exploited. We need to increase sanctions, we need to provide heavy weaponry and air defence systems, and we need to plan for continued financial support. And when storage capacities run out, we are at a very, very good stage, even achieving our goals earlier than planned. We need to prepare for the months ahead, because everything that we do today, from a security of supply angle, from an energy decision angle, from a defence angle, depends on Ukraine, and vice versa. The very last point I will make is, because this was confirmed informally and formally within the European Council, is that in November the European Parliament will be celebrating its 70th year since it started operation, if I can call it that, and we are working on a visit and an address by President Macron, Prime Minister De Croo, Prime Minister Bettel in Strasbourg on the 22nd of November. That is something that will happen. So I leave it at here, and I'm happy to take your questions.
Please. Lorenzo, but you need to go to the microphone.
Lorenzo Consoli from Sky News. I have two questions, President. One concerns Repower EU. You said just now that the Parliament will vote in November, in the mini plenary. The President of the Commission is repeatedly saying that we need to boost, we need to strengthen Repower EU. It has to be a way to finance the investment that we need for the economy for the future, and in particular for renewables, for new infrastructures, interconnectors, etc. Do you see the possibility that a new instrument, a new budget instrument from the EU is created in order to do this exactly? There was the proposal from Commissioner Gentiloni and Commissioner Breton a few weeks ago. Do you think that this is something that the Parliament could support? Because it's a little bit ambiguous the way von der Leyen is saying this. She says that we need to do this, but she doesn't support that proposal. And I remember that also the way to finance the macroeconomic support for Ukraine is through obligations that the Commission is collecting on the market with the guarantee of member states. So is it an instrument that can be used for this? And the second question is, you were in the EPP summit before. Were you reassured by Antonio Tajani about the way Italy, the new government, in which he is a potential Minister of Foreign Affairs, is going to treat the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the relationship with Putin, with Russia, and all the things that you know were in the polemics in Italy in the last few days? Thanks.
Thank you. On Repower EU, it is actually a very welcome fact that the European Parliament was very, very fast in reaching its possibility to vote. This also shows the Parliament's commitment to deal with things urgently and quickly, but seriously, with very, very strong members who worked on this piece of legislation. As regards new sources of funding, as I said in my comments, sometimes, on the one hand, we talk about more money, which is what some countries are pushing for, new budget lines, looking at also the examples and the scenes and what is happening in the United States, for example. Other countries are saying, let's be creative. Others are saying, let's move money or be a little bit more flexible with deadlines. I think that none of this should be excluded. What is clear, however, is the current framework within which we operate is too inflexible. And then if this crisis has shown us, if you look back, for example, to the beginning of the invasion, when we were just considering at the time, the possibility of using the EPF, the partnership facility, the possibility of common purchasing, the possibility of only being at the moment less than 9% reliant on Russian gas, while at the same time not stopping our ambitious planning on renewables. If anything, REPower will help that in order to bridge the digital and green transition with the current challenge we have today, where, yes, we are seeing countries relying more and more heavily on fossil fuels. I don't think anything is excluded. I don't think anything should be off the table, and I can certainly assure you that the Parliament will look into all possible solutions into ensuring that we, and this is important, manage to cushion the social and economic impact of these crises on our citizens. At the end of the day, we are elected politicians. It is our responsibility to take decisions, even if they are difficult, even if they are costly. But when they are costly, how we are going to repay without having generations and generations in the future having still to be burdened with that. On your second question, I have spoken ever since the date of the election, and without speculating in the period at which a potential government is being formed, with Giorgia Meloni. I've spoken with Mario Draghi, with Enrico Letta, and also Antonio Tajani, both as a former president of the European Parliament, but also as today vice president of the European People's Party. And I spoke to him today, and I can tell you that, yes, I was reassured. The statements have been very clear. Italy needs to remain at the very centre of Europe, of the European Union, and the statements I have seen until today with very much strength in favour of the common stance we have with regards to Ukraine, and as also a very strong transatlantic partnership that needs to continue to be invested in, is something that I think we should hang on to going forward with cautious optimism.
Next question. Yes, please.
Selena Shanchai from TRT World. My
Hi.
question is going to be the relations between EU and Azerbaijan. In order to respond to challenges posed by the disruption of Russian oil and gas imports, the European Union signed a memorandum with Azerbaijan to double gas export to the European Union, and how this deal could reshape Union's foreign policy in the Caucasus and with Caucasus. Thank you.
Thank you for this question. It is asked of me very often. Let me also tell you that this is a global challenge that we are facing. And therefore, countries that align themselves with the European Union, the United States, the G7 countries, in the implementation of sanctions on the one hand, in their relationship with Russia on the other hand, in the possibility of having new connections and new dependencies are something that we would continue to work on. Having said this, of course, the European Parliament and myself, I will always continue to insist that in all our negotiations with the third countries, that the values we ourselves hold so dear are held also by those countries.
Good, thank you. Fifth row, please. Yes. Yeah, it's you.
Hi, thank you very much. Naomi O'Leary, Irish Times.
Hi, Naomi.
President, could you just comment on the recent political developments in the UK? How much is this turmoil due to Brexit, do you think? Thanks.
Perhaps this morning such a question would not have been asked, and it actually did reach us and the Prime Ministers on our doorsteps as we entered the European Council today. I would say two things. First of all, as a committed, I would say, pro-European, and also one that comes from a country which has very close ties to the United Kingdom, I will continue to hope and work towards the strongest ever relationship with the United Kingdom, with an equivalent application and unflappable, if I may say, application of the deals that were struck post-Brexit, still expressing regret over Brexit, but understanding the reality. Also hoping for a strengthening of the joint EU-UK parliamentary assembly that has been set up in order to look precisely at where the relationship can be strengthened. Second point I will say is that yes, when economic decisions are taken, sometimes they cause democratic instability or governmental instability. And that is perhaps a lesson to all governments. And it is one that I look forward to see resolved in the United Kingdom as quickly as possible.
Further questions? Yes, sir, please.
Bonjour Madame la Présidente, Khalil Beyi, Radio Fréquence Protestante France. Ce Conseil européen sur fond de grandes divergences, notamment entre la France et l'Allemagne. Avez-vous des craintes pour la stabilité au niveau de l'Union européenne? Et aussi, vous avez appelé tout à l'heure à cesser la politique des petits pas face à cette crise énergétique. Pensez-vous que, par exemple, que l'Allemagne et les Pays-Bas doivent s'aligner sur la proposition française en matière de fixation de prix de l'énergie? Et une dernière question concernant l'Ukraine. Qualifiez-vous également de crimes de guerre les dernières attaques contre les infrastructures civiles? Merci.
Oui, merci. Moi, peut-être que je suis optimiste, mais l'unité que j'ai vue autour de la table en février, en mars, en avril, en mai, je pense qu'on peut sauvegarder cette unité. Pourquoi? Parce que c'est vrai que tous les pays ils ont leur propre réalité. On peut voir le nouvel accord entre l'Espagne, le Portugal et aussi la France aujourd'hui, que se donne un espoir que pour nous, l'interdépendance énergétique, c'est possible entre nous. Depuis des années et des années que nous avons vu ou nous avons gardé les autres solutions. Et aussi la dépendance sur la Russie, mais avec tout les vulnérabilités qu'elles viennent. On a pris des décisions dans le Parlement aussi sur la taxonomie, qui vous rappelez, qui sauvegarde aussi les possibilités que tous les pays ils ont, la possibilité d'avoir des ressources propres sur l'électricité énergétique et aussi pour soutenir leurs employés, aussi les personnes qui travaillent dans les industries qui sont directement affectées par ces crises. Alors pour moi, je continuerai à dire et à appeler pour l'unité. Je sais que la plus belle chose qu'on peut donner à Vladimir Poutine, que c'est exactement cette division, et moi, je ne partage pas cette opinion. Sur l'Ukraine, moi, je pense que c'est quand il y a un pays qui bombe sans discrimination les civils, les enfants, les femmes qui vont à l'école, qui vont au travail, ce sont les crimes de guerre et on doit avoir la responsabilité et on doit créer les forums pour que cette responsabilité va être chargée. Maintenant, aussi pour la reconstruction et la restitution de la paix.
On va prendre encore les deux questions, je pense. D'abord, madame, et puis vous aussi. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Valentina Vassilieva, Voice of America. So my question is about unity in the European Union. You and Ursula von der Leyen all the time speaking about that unity is super important. But we see now that Silvio Berlusconi, who now is a part of right-wing coalition, which won in Italy, now gives a lot of comments that he's reconnected to Vladimir Putin, and he thinks that Zelensky pushed Putin to invade Ukraine. What do you think about that? And do you think that people like that should stay in power in Italy?
So thank you very much. Unity is key, as you say, and this is not something that only me and the President of the Commission say, but everybody around the table in whose interest it is that Ukraine wins the war, in whose interest it is that energy bills are able to be paid by our families and our businesses, and in whose interest it is that our markets stabilise. I cannot comment on the outcome of ongoing debates and the coalition formations in the government. That is not yet concluded. What I can say, however, is that, as I said to your colleague, the messages and the messaging, the official messaging of any potential coalition partners and their members has been consistently pro-Ukraine, pro-European and pro-strengthening of the transatlantic relationship. So I will continue to push for that. That is my role also as President of the European Parliament. We will have 9 new members of European Parliament from Italy that will enter in the next few weeks, since 9 have gone to the national parliaments. So I look forward also to working with those 9 new members.
And the last question, yeah, please. Yeah, take the microphone.
Thanks. Good afternoon, Mark Peperkorn, Volkskrant. I want to go back to the energy. As you know, the heads of state today discuss 2 different price caps. One is called the market correction mechanism. The other one is an idea to decouple, let's say, the gas price made for electricity, used for electricity. What I see from you is you actually said, well, we have to look to that. They are already doing that for quite some months, the heads of state. Do you think it's okay for the European Parliament if it will just continue like this? We have another look and another look. Or do you say, no, it should happen tonight or maybe next week on the Council, but the decision has to be taken now? Thanks.
Thanks for this question. Yes, there have been many new formulations coined and stated. We talk about price cap, we talk about a dynamic price cap, we talk about market correction mechanism, we talk about the decoupling of electricity from gas markets. We've even heard the decoupling of electricity from renewable energy markets. So yes, every country comes to the table with its own reality on the ground. But what I heard today is a willingness, because there is no other choice, for a solution to be found. We did not have the Portuguese, Spanish, French solution last European Council. We have it today. We did not have the proposals that were requested from the European Council of the Commission before 2 days ago. The reaction has been welcoming, and there is, I can assure you, an understanding of the urgency within which we are acting. The European Parliament understands that. I also said in my discussions with the Prime Ministers, and it was quite a long back and forth one, is that it's not only the Parliament that represents the citizens, but also each and every person around the table represents the citizens. We are elected by the same citizens, and they're asking us the same questions. So we need to not only talk about the unity, but we need to reassure them. Because the moment we are saying different things, then no wonder the markets are unstable. And what I have seen is that since the emergence of a broader coalition, so to speak, of countries going for the cap, call it what you will, we don't have to get stuck on the name, the TTF prices have stabilized, a little bit at least. And that also means that what we say here and what we do here matters to the markets. What we have also seen is an unbelievable amount of success taking place at energy ministers' level. And that, I think, lays enough ground for us to have the steps taken today. I said at the beginning they are small steps. Parliament expects more. But we are, as a partner and an ally, going to be sure that nothing is delayed, pushed back because of us. I also wanted to mention another point which was raised, which was migration. And several leaders also asked that that starts to be discussed again. because of challenges that are being faced. So I also wanted to inform you of that.